Thank you, Nikki. And as always, I just want to say too, you are so inspirational. You have always been part of my journey. And so it's nice to always reconnect. So thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. I am very honored that I got invited to have a discussion or share some ideas or brainstorm with all of you today. Let's see here, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to tell you a story. It's going to be a story of my journey and why I am here with you now. So I am a mom on a mission. So I have two daughters, but I've always worked in technology. So I've had about 20 plus years experience working in a lot of different companies in IT, primarily in the Silicon Valley. I worked for SAP, and then I jumped into, So when I was working at SAP, so I have two daughters. I have a daughter who's 16 now and another one who's 11. And when I worked at SAP, we did a lot of design thinking. So we used a lot to design thinking workshops to identify how to attract net new developers to work on the very sexy and interesting and fun financial applications that SAP brings up. I'm kidding. So I was immersed in design thinking. And so I thought to myself, this is something really cool, right? It's a methodology, but it gives you structure on how to solve problems. And then at home, my daughter, who's 16 now, she was 6 at the time, she joined a Lego class. And every time I picked her up, she was one of 6 students and she was the only girl. And she was always sitting in the corner. I would always ask her, why are you not working on the project? And she would always say, my partner told me that I'm too slow and I don't know what I'm doing, so he'll just do everything. So she just takes her book and she reads, right? And I saw that over and over again. And it wasn't just her, it was other students in her class. And I thought, I work in technology. I need to help these kids get interested and find their voice, right? They need to experiment. They need to not be afraid of new things, and they need to be able to explain things. And so with my experience with design thinking and tech, I decided to launch into teaching kids. So Marcus, just like you, I left my 20 plus years in IT work and I immersed myself into teaching kids. So, but I got lucky too, because I ended up actually working for an organization called Singularity University, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it. I think Nikki is a faculty there. I directed an innovation lab. And so basically my 20 years plus, I look back on it and it was just all about learning for myself and how to share that learning, right? So I got really hands-on very quickly with a lot of different technologies. So I got involved in coding robots. So you see a picture here of a Now robot and Pepper. I worked a lot with 3D printing. So additive manufacturing. So I don't know if you can see here, my 2 favorite projects that I actually worked on. Let me see if I can show you. So you see here, there's a rook. There's a special rook because it has a spiral staircase inside it. But yeah, these 2 are really cool. This one, you see this little tiny tool that is a ratchet wrench, and it's actually from a digital file that was used to 3D print one of the first tools in the International Space Station. So we have 2 3D printers there now. So astronauts don't need to wait for a payload to actually get either 3D printed a tool or a replacement part that they need on the International Space Station. And lastly, I got involved in 3D printing prosthetics. So this one, I put together the 3D printed parts. It's plastic, it's PLA, with elastic and wires. And I donated this prosthetic hand to a little girl actually who was born without a hand. And this actually, it does very simple movements, right? You can grasp a ball, but even that made a huge difference with this child who can now play catch and pick up a ball with this prosthetic hand. So a lot of machining work. I learned how to play with a laser cutter. And then I also did a lot with virtual reality, augmented reality. You see here, Magic Leap and the Microsoft Google, HoloLens. And one of my most important ones that I really enjoyed working with is using a biosensor. So down here, I'm wearing this headset and it actually picks up my brain waves. It picks up my alpha and my theta, I believe. So if I'm relaxed, I can send my brain signals to make the robot spin. And if I'm active, my brain signals will make these robots move forward. So we did a lot of neuroscience type work as far as giving for example, giving companies insights on how people really feel about their products, right? So you put them, they have these devices on their head. People will tell you what you want to hear sometimes, but their brains will not lie to you. Their brains will tell you if they're interested, if they see that your marketing campaign is interesting to them, their brains will light up. And if it's boring, it will not do anything, right? So these are just some of the technologies and methodologies that I've learned. So as I said, I'm a mom on a mission, but what I really want to do, oops, hold on, is to, just like I think Marcus said earlier, I want to make learning fun. So I've been teaching children now for the last 6-7 years. I teach them a lot of things, but primarily I just want to give them a safe environment to actually experiment and build things. So I always give them challenges, right? So I have a child here who's creating a device that will protect an egg from breaking when you drop it from a certain height. Some of the kids created robots that drew. This picture right here is actually a student's blueprint of a safe space for students if somebody, a criminal, would come and barge into their classroom. Like, how would they protect themselves? So this is their idea, right? I introduced the children to computer-aided design. They actually created, how do you envision, the future of school, of your school? Like, what do you see it? How do you see that? We did a lot of brainstorming. We spent a lot of time using Post-its, right? So it's asking them questions and getting them to share their ideas and having them ask questions and clarify, well, how does this really work, right? This student here with the device on her head, that is a creation that will allow her to safely get up in the middle of the night to get milk or whatever if she needs to in the dark, right? So she had this unicorn cup in her head, and it's really fascinating. So again, giving the children the opportunity to experiment and build something, and if it doesn't work, what do? They do it again, right? So I'm going to share with you just why, again, this is really my passion. I'm sharing you this visual, and I'm sure some of you may have already seen it from the World Economic Forum. And it talks a lot about what do we need for us to thrive in the 21st century, especially our children, right? Like Marcus said, we don't need to throw away schools. Our children still needs to be able to read. They need to be able to work with numbers. They need to be able to analyze things, understand the world around them through science, right? But more importantly now, they really need to be able to think critically, connect the dots, ask questions, solve problems, ask why, right? Creativity is paramount. And I just want to call out, we just lost Sir Ken Robinson last Friday. And if you haven't seen his TEDx talks, they're just amazing. And he was actually one of the first ones who actually also inspired me to get into this journey. Communication is key. This whole pandemic, right, made us realize how well we can actually talk over the internet, like we're doing now, right? I mean, in person is important, but we're becoming very creative on how to connect and continue to connect when we can't. Collaboration is also very key. So just another supporting data point, there's increasing demands for higher order skills, whether because of automation or we have a lot of robots working or doing our jobs now, which makes sense. So I teach robotics now to 2nd and 3rd grader. And I love how the 2nd grader said, why do we humans want to work in a factory to like put things in a box and put it on a conveyor belt? Why can't we get a robot to do that, right? It's a completely different mindset from some of us who thought, why would I want a robot take my job away? Right? That's a threat. The children are saying, no, I want the robots to take care of all the, the repetitive work. And I want to be able to like fix them if they break. So it's a very different thinking, right? So routine versus non-routine and analytical work. And so how do we do that to our children? And I have transparency. I'm not a trained educator. I'm just a trained mother. So these are just my personal mantra that I would like to share with all of you. So I have 3. First, spark curiosity. How many of you have been approached recently by your child and said, why do I have to do it this way? And you said, just do it because I told you so, right? Whether it's our child, whether it's somebody who reports to us or a coworker, right? we need to encourage those questions, and we need to ask them questions back. Well, did you think of it this way? Again, this whole ask why 5 times, right? It's not a nuisance. Did you think about it this way? How about this? Well, you know, let's stop feeding people information. Let's have them let's ask them questions so they can actually start thinking about other things, right? Instead of just repeating what they've been told before. Embrace failure. This is probably one of my favorites. I always start my classes, sometimes some of them are 10 weeks long. My first thing that they do is the spaghetti, the marshmallow challenge. I'm sure you've done that. And I've done different formats of it where I do paper, sometimes it's, you know, plastic straws. It's interesting to see. And again, studies have shown that kindergartners do very well. And for those of you, again, who are not familiar with this, you give the materials to the children and you tell them, build the tallest self-standing structure with these materials and only these materials, right? And as I don't know if you've heard this, but MBAs are notorious for sitting down together and writing a plan. Well, maybe we should draw what we should be working on, or maybe we should do it this way. And then the last 5 minutes, they build their structure and then it falls apart, right? So kids, they just build. If it falls again, then they build again, right? And we need to kind of remember that that's the world that we're in. You know, we're not given a grade. When we work, of course, we're given evaluations, and then, you know, our raises are dependent on those evaluations, but we should have the safe space to keep iterating, because that's the only way innovation happens, right? So failure is not, again, let's not give grade levels or yeah, A's or B's or C's or whatever, because I think that definitely like hold children back from experimenting, right? They ask questions like, oh, do I need to learn this because it's going to be on my exam? Instead of, I want to learn this because I want to figure out how to solve this problem, right? And lastly, inspire them to be social change makers, right? Ask them questions. Like, I hear this, I heard this a lot in the Silicon Valley. What do you want to be when you grow up? Like, oh, I want to be a startup. I want to go to Stanford because I want to make the first million doing this with so-and-so, right? And then you go, well, how are you going to make your first million? They don't know. You know, I want them to say, well, I really want to solve or find the cure for cancer, right? So I started doing this workshop where I actually get the kids to think about, what is your personal mission? I know that seems like a stretch because they're kids, but if you sit them down and give them this opportunity to think, what are my strengths? Like, what do I know? What am I really good at right now? Am I good at drawing? Am I good at, you know, singing songs? Oh, I'm really good at putting makeup on. Like, what are your strengths, right? And then what kind of future you envision? And somebody would say, well, I don't like to have drugs in my school, right? I don't want to be late. Like, have them define what these problems are, and then have them come up with like, oh, I want to solve our climate crisis. So my 16-year-old right now is vegan. And so she has had this like thing of, I want to solve the climate change or the climate crisis. And so we're using reusable grocery bags. So the entire thing that we're doing at home was driven by her. You know, we're trying not to eat as much meat. Again, reusable, we carry our straws now. So it's just, again, we need to listen to our children because they have ideas, and we kind of just need to give them the environment to grow. Just like what Sir Ken Robinson said, right? A gardener is not there to make the plants grow. We're there to actually provide a very nourished environment for them to thrive. So this is actually the last of my slides. I just want to remind everybody, we need to be innovative. We need to be curious. We need to ask questions because we cannot continue to do what we do and think that we are going to solve the problems. So I'm going to pause here if there are any reactions or questions, because I actually have a game that I have in mind, Nikki.
Oh, that's beautiful. I want to hear from Marcus, although I think you're on the same page.
We are on exactly the same page. That wonderful piece which you showed of 20th century needs, apart from the World Economic Forum, the one about the needs in the US between all that stuff was reproduced by PISA back in 2007. and people still haven't got it. It's just extraordinary how I think everybody knows what needs to be done.
Yes.
It's just they're caught in the same mentality.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like scared of changing the system just in case, knowing it's not a very good one, but people are scared of changing it. What, in case it could be better?
Right.
But I also liked, I mean, we're having a lot of conversation, as Marcus pointed out in the beginning, about education, and we all agree it's fucked up, and we all don't know where to start, and then it's the teachers or the infrastructure or the curriculum or whatever. But actually what I've heard from you is not only about the education system, but it's actually back up to the future conversations, right? We're having conversations about a future that's not affecting us. But the kids already say, why would a human actually want to do this?
Right.
We're saying they're taking away our jobs. They're not taking away our jobs. They're taking away the jobs of our children, jobs that our children don't even want to do. And how can we actually not only talk about education, but bring back the conversations that we have during education into adults' conversation?
That's right.
Yeah, and the scary thing is that because we've had lockdowns and all sorts of stuff, people have found alternative ways of being educated. It's not that they just haven't learned anything for the last 6 months, which is absurd. It's just they've learned stuff which they want to learn, not necessarily stuff they're going to get graded on.
Yes.
So what's more important, you know?
Yes, absolutely. The word essential is being thrown about now since the pandemic started, right? Essential workers. So the same thing I think with schools. It's like, what is essential? And my children, because we were locked in lockdown, they learned how to bake. So I say, bring it to your family, bring it to the people who you interact with. I even think, learn how to drive the bicycle backwards. See how that, the idea of unlearning something, yeah. Right? And getting your mind to think about something else instead of like, oh, these are the steps, here are the ingredients, and I'm going to do it exactly the same as what the book says. It will not work anymore.
Well, it's not working.
It's not working. That's right.
And we know it,
mm-hmm.
But we are paralyzed by systems which, my own feeling is it's not if, it's when the Amazon of this world will change education in the same way as it's changed retail.
Yes.
It won't be Amazon, it'll be something, but it's not an if. It's just.
It will be us, Marcus. It will be us.
I think hopefully.
There's a lot of movement. So there's the MIT Labs with the Scratch platform. So there's a lot of like creative learning workshops that are going on, training teachers, and there's so many interested parties. And like you said, like, where do we start, right? But let's not get paralyzed by that. Let's start within our own homes and with each other. And like having this conversation is really cool. So Nikki, may I launch into this game that's have you seen this game before?
I don't know yet.
Okay, so I hope everybody will participate. So we are going to play a game called Choosing Sides, right? So this seems binary. If you feel very strongly about something, just speak up. So you're either going to choose the pink side or the white side. So let's start easy. So who here likes cats versus dogs? Pink. Oh, Sarge picks up. Which one, Sarge? Cats. Anybody for dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs, Nikki. All right. Okay, how about this? Glow-in-the-dark cats versus robotic dogs. So I'm introducing a little bit of technology. I think, Sarge, I'm not sure. So they can
robotic dogs.
I have a cat. I don't think I want her to glow in the dark.
So, they can pick up like DNA from algae and jellyfish and inject it into them. So they have...
But then I can't sleep at night because, right?
Glow in the dark cats.
Glow in the dark. It'd be hard for them to hunt, but they don't hunt anymore. You just open a can of cat food, right? All right.
The little creatures.
So here we go. Moving to Mars or cleaning up Earth. Moving to Mars?
Earth.
No, I'm sorry. Cleaning up Earth.
Oh, I'm white. I'm still white.
White.
So this seems like a binary choice, but it really isn't. There are a lot of people working on or believe that we actually need to go to Mars, just like the movie Wall-E, if you've seen it from Pixar, in order to let Earth clean up, right? So things like we're going to start manufacturing in space. This startup called Made in Space from Singularity. We're going to start manufacturing items in space in order to relieve some of the resources on Earth. So they should work well together, right? I'm not ready to go to Mars yet myself.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is an important one. Universal basic income, or unlearning and reskilling.
Uh-huh.
Basic income.
Unlearning and reskilling.
I'm with you, Nikki.
Anyone else?
I mean, I do unlearning because of a strong opinion against universal basic income and what it represents. But yeah, so unlearning. So
Yeah.
binary, I'm not really picking, I'm unpicking, right? And so in that
Yes.
way.
Yeah, but I think that we need to think about maybe these two again will work together. These are false binaries, right? So people are afraid that they're not going to make any money because the robots are going to take over their jobs. But we need to reskill everyone else, right? So that they can help solve the robotic problems or make robots behave better. So that's the discussion around here.
Marcus, what did you pick, by the way, Marcus?
Unlearning and reskilling.
I was going to say good, because you're in education.
Yes, me too. I haven't heard from, is it Indra and Evelina? I'm sorry, I didn't want to.
So I've swept Evelina and Martin.
I'm unlearning.
Unlearning,
Yeah.
How are you, Martin?
And
I think the only one for universal basic income.
interesting. Johan?
Most definitely about unlearning and reskilling.
Yep. All right, it just gets better. All right, designer babies or predictive AI policing. I saw Sarge's eyes roll. So we want to use predictive analytics for our law enforcement to find where the criminals are. And designer babies, we inject DNA to make, if I want blue-eyed babies, I can.
Predictive AI.
Yeah.
Predictive AI.
We already design babies by picking our mate and by sexing. And so we already design babies, right?
That's true.
Yes.
So designer babies. Because they're already being designed. And I'm looking for blonde, tall, Nordic, who cooks really well.
And she should grow 20 until Christmas, right?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a hard one for me. I haven't picked. I think this one I would avoid picking.
But if you had to pick, what would you have chosen?
I don't like predictive AI. I still am very suspicious of AI and how we still introduce bias into the algorithms. Probably designer babies would be the lesser of two evils.
So you're choosing on least worst.
Yes, unfortunately for this particular one.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I want blue-eyed babies though. But anyway, so moving on, robotic overlords or a single world government organized on the blockchain.
Can I have a third one?
What would the
The
third one-
hardest one question.
Both these choices subjugate the human. So
Yeah,
it's not really a choice. So who do you choose to be subjugated to?
Yes.
correct.
Right? The robot or the government?
Government.
Well, it depends who programmed the robot.
Well, when the plane's on autopilot, right? There's already a robot overlord.
Well, I guess if I go for AI early, I have to go for robotic now.
The
Let's go for the
Terminator.
Overlord.
Overlord. I want to give him.
World government.
I am your father.
You have the voice, Nikki. We just need to get you the mask. I'm with Marcus. I think I would like to try the world government humans, right? Whew. Okay, next one. So let's evaluate our relationship with animals in this world. Lab-grown meat so that we actually we don't slaughter animals. We don't need as much land to grow the food that we feed the animals. Or pig-grown organs using technology like CRISPR, injecting human stem cells into animals for them to grow human organs.
Lab-grown meat, because then we can grow in the lab the organs as well.
Regenerative medicine, yep.
Oh, you mean, Nikki, you want to grow the pig, right?
Yeah, that's what Nikki
Grow
wants.
the pig for the pig grow organ.
I want to grow the pig and the organ inside of the pig already.
Well,
And
you
then
need the pig
after,
to grow the organ. So,
Yes.
But if you grow the meat, you can grow the organ without pig.
Lab-grown meat. Lab-grown meat it is from my end.
But if this is just to grow a steak in the lab without growing the animal around the steak,
yes.
oh, sorry, growing the pork loin on its own, or do we want to grow organs by harvesting them out of the pig?
I think the second one is here a choice.
I'd say it depends who the person is who's going to benefit from the organ. I've got a bit of Genghis Khan in me.
Well, where medicine is going, we don't need organ donors anyways.
Well, look at you. Look at you, Nikki. You've been
I don't want the vocal cord of a pig.
might be better than your current vocal cord.
That's even worse.
We can 3D print, right?
I'm doing the next game. Who's making a joke and no one's allowed to laugh?
I tell you what, Nikki, if we could create you to get the vocal cords of a duck, it'd be fantastic. I would pay a lot of money for that.
So I'm doing voice training. I'm not sure if laughing is good or bad.
That's a difficult one.
Yeah, that's a difficult one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, very difficult.
So I played this with my family, and of course my vegan daughter just blew up, just did not want to participate in this one.
So if she had to, what would she have decided?
She didn't. She did not want to harm animals whatsoever. This is the girl who doesn't wear leather, doesn't eat honey, so doesn't use any product with any animal byproducts in it. So she did not.
So would she have a blood transplant? Would she have a blood transfusion if she needed an operation?
I think, well, yeah, I would have to decide that, right? Because she's still 16, so she will.
And she will eat a beef burger.
No. Anyway.
which you will disguise as a vegan one.
We have those. We have Beyond Meat now and Impossible Burgers, and they're pretty good. And I'm a carnivore, so.
So have you not substituted for her?
We have.
So you bring the pack out, which says it's vegan, but in fact.
90 would feel like a 25 in VR. But only in VR or what? Not in
only
real.
in. So the first option on the pink, it's actually for real, but you'll feel like an 80-year-old as a 160-year-old person. And the other option is live to 90, but feel like a 25-year-old only in VR.
Live to 160 because I don't want to live something in VR only. I want to live to 120 and feel like 45.
Yes, good choice, but not on the page.
Nikki always wants a third one.
I just put it on the page.
Yeah. I haven't heard from Sarge. I'm interested to know what your choice is. You're muted. Sarge?
So the question is, do you want to feel half your age, right? I mean, I'm looking at the Live 160. So I feel a little past half-ish my age, you know? So I think that's the VR thing, it's nonsense. So yeah, it's the 160 to 80.
Johan?
Not so easy, but I would go for the second.
Oh, the VR.
Yes.
Yes. Andra, I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
Indra.
It's okay, but I think I also would choose without VR. So just I want to feel my age.
Yeah.
Let's itch together, Andra. Let's itch together.
All right, dinner with your clone or dinner with a super intelligent and very funny AI?
Marcus, I don't want to go first all the time.
Well, it depends. That depends
Ah,
what the menu is. Because I reckon the very funny AI won't eat as much.
The cheap date.
Yeah.
Very cheap date. So I think a super intelligent and very funny AI would be much happier than having dinner with me.
and if I had dinner with my clone, we'd both be broke.
And pissed.
But I think I also dinner with AI because I have twin sisters, so it's almost my clone.
Oh,
So I
really?
think it's for me it's much more interesting with AI.
How fascinating.
Yeah.
Is she
Martin?
identical, Indra? Is she
I've
not?
been for the funny version.
What?
I prefer the funny version.
Indra, is your sister identical?
Yes, my sister is identical, but she don't have family. I have kids, she don't.
Is that how you can tell each other apart?
What?
Is that how people can tell you apart?
Yes.
And do you sometimes swipe if you're done with the children for a few minutes?
All right,
So
last one. Oh, sorry, Nikki, did you pick yours?
the AI, of course. I don't need a second me.
This is a Seinfeld episode where they find out you really don't want to date someone like you. This was a
Exactly.
Seinfeld episode.
I would never.
I wouldn't date anyone that would date me.
Groucho.
Wait, how are you going to make your designer baby, Sarge?
Sarge Groucho Marx.
Eyesight, based on analyzed looks. I said blonde, Nordic, 6'2", cooks.
And he's 20 by Christmas. The future.
All right. So this isn't really a choice, but we're all in this spaceship Earth together. So, let's use the abundance around us to work together and solve all these global challenges that we have in front of us.
I want to relive the past. I want to be there when Watson and Crick discovered the DNA. I want to be there with Michelangelo. So I want to relive the past. Because I mean, these are epic moments that made the future possible. So I want to go back to the past.
With an option to keep going in the current and the future, or is that it?
Stay.
Well, when you live the past, the pivotal moments, you are invariably creating the future.
Or do you want to go to the past with some investment money, right?
No, it's curiosity, for the sake of curiosity. There's no money in Michelangelo, right? So I just want to relive the past and things that I haven't seen. I want to be there when they land on the moon, right? And so anyway, I want to go to the past.
I love your way of thinking, but I'm still in the future.
Oh, I know.
So that's it, Nikki. I don't know if there are any questions or.
Was this a secret psychiatric analysis, a personality disorder kind of spectrum thing?
Yeah, actually, I'm recording the whole session, and I'm actually gonna write a thesis. I'm just kidding. No.
I'm recording the session.
Nikki.
Am I a sociopath? How did I grade?
Is there something like an outcome? Is there something like a personality or okay?
No, not at all. Not at all. This was just a discussion, like to see how people think about, again, technology coming and how they're reacting to them.
Nice.
Where did you use it?
Where did we use this?
Yeah.
I use it for my classes. Like
Okay.
we also used it at Singularity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. And what was the reactions then?
It depends on the audience. For children, there were a lot of questions. What is blockchain? Like, what is predictive AI, right? So it's getting them to be interested in what the technologies are. But it's more fun to talk with adults because the technology, and it's really like the thinking of, okay, so where do I see myself, like Nikki, like reusing an organ that was raised or grown in a pig? How do I feel about regenerative medicine or designer babies.
So, but there is no score in the end of the game, but just to get the discussion.
It's so interesting how much we're tuned to working towards a result.
A result. Yeah, yeah.
We've been working so hard. I want a result.
No, so you can also make this very active. You can have the kids stand, right? And then they actually go to opposite sides of the room with their choices.
Okay.
Gigi, I have a question about Tinker. You've aimed it at 8 to 12-year-olds. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Is there a reason for 8? Or do you also deal with down at the 5 and 6s?
I've started dealing with the 5s and the 6s. I think the biggest challenge, especially like how I deliver the classes now, which are like online, it's the tech challenges, right? Some of them can't type yet. But other than that, you know, I've had 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds do robotic classes, which is pretty amazing. But they have their parents next to them to set up their screen. Zoom is on the left, and like whether the VR VX or Scratch on the other side. So for setting up technology, their parents are there, and then because a lot of the coding that I do is block based, so they just
got it.
Yeah.
So it's using Scratch type technology and just applying it. This is not the right place, but Gigi, I'd like to have a really in-depth conversation about how we could do some cool stuff. I'm working with 100,000 kids in the UK. I'd really, really love to do some stuff at an earlier age. And I'd like to introduce you to some people who are were friends of Ken Robinson and all those guys. Wow. Sorry, Nikki, I'm having a bilateral conversation with Gigi, and I shouldn't be doing that, but this is just too good an opportunity.
Wow, we also enjoy listening to the good conversation.
Gigi, what can we do to help you? Is there anything I can do to help you? Anything you'd like to share with the group? How can we help you?
I just want you to do those 3 things. Like whoever you encounter, whether you have children, your coworkers, like live it, right? Don't just talk about it, just really live it. When you say, I want to give my employees a safe place to experiment, then give them a safe place to experiment, right? Don't punish them, don't fire them if they make a mistake. Again, it's easier said than done because it actually takes time and patience. But just, you know, spark curiosity, just encourage learning, give them opportunities to build. Like, you know, I go crazy. We have a very small apartment in New York City. My kitchen, you stand in the middle and there can only be one person, right? But when I let them bake, it's a mess, but I have to let them bake. I can't like say everything needs to be neat. You know, that's not how you experiment and learn. So
I have a question. And did you use this game, also for, we'll say, young people between, I don't know, 18 and 20? So
that's
before they go to the university?
I have not. I think the oldest group that I've done this exercise with, probably freshmen in high school, so grade 9. I haven't, that is a very interesting thing though.
Sorry, freshman in high school is what age?
15, 16? No.
Let's say about 12, 13.
Really? That seems young.
4 years, you graduate
11,
17, 18.
13. Oh, that's right. That's right.
So you have freshmen then sophomores, is that right? And then
freshman is the oldest. Yeah, the oldest that I've taught is the first year, and then second, third, fourth. So I stopped in the freshman year.
And that year is what, 13, 14? I'm sorry, I just don't understand the age systems.
Yeah, Sarge, I need help.
Chronological
exactly.
ages.
So let's see, you guys, we got 1 to 12, you got 12 to 1. So première, deuxième, troisième, quatrième. So it's, well, in the French system, it would be quatrième. Actually, no, cinquième because of terminal, but yeah.
Cinquième, quel âge?
Well, you know what? I don't know. I say graduate at 18, subtract the years.
Yeah, 18 minus 4, so 14.
And And how big was the group?
My classes range from 4 kids. Well, online is smaller, but the biggest one I've taught was 21 kids.
Okay, because I'm thinking I have once a year the 3-day events for young people before they go to university, and I would like to try this, but in a big group. So there are almost 130 to 150 young people. Do you think it makes sense?
Yep.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Because the idea was to say, okay, this group, for example, the white one goes in this corner and the other one goes in the other corner. Yeah. Then you see how different the thinking is. No?
Yes, yes. And I actually, usually there's music that plays with this, but I took that out. And then you give them time to actually deliberate and talk about why they decided to pick that particular choice. And then you pick a representative from the group and you have them construct a 1-sentence explanation of why they chose that side. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, excuse me for this. Gigi, Martin, were you there last year in TEDx Klagenfurt when I worked with 150 kids?
No, I haven't been there.
Ah, because we
shame on me, I know.
Yeah, terrible. We got them from 150. Nikki was there. We got them from 150 down to 25, and then they pitched, and then the next day 10 of them went on to the TEDx stage at the end of the day and gave a talk about what they think needs to change in Klagenfurt.
Wow.
I haven't heard about it.
I wasn't there either.
Weren't you there, Nikki?
No, I was in San Francisco. I was just watching from the
of course. Yeah, you were virtual.
That was when I had the grand rehearsal from Zoom live stream from San Francisco to Klagenfurt.
Did you see the kids on the stage then, or you missed that?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes, I did.
I mean, I thought they were really good with no preparation, and they were just picked at random.
Sarge, did you actually ever do a kids event? Sorry, TEDx Kids?
No. Actually, you know what? I think maybe I kind of on paper sponsored one, I think, and it was, it was high school kids, and it's just a delight, right? Because they don't know, they just go, and it's a delight, and yeah, it's I enjoyed sitting in the audience and watching it, but yeah, it's a completely different magical experience, because we forget that we were kids once, right?
Yes. How did we forget that?
Well, we became 160 years old. That's why. Trying to be 80-year-olds.
Thank you so much for taking time and being here. I think that today, also for all of you coming back, you can confirm you for more or less the first time. That's kind of the range, the spectrum, the variety that we have in this program. We talk from following bots to the education and the very human approach to innovation and technology. And I think that was beautiful.
Gigi, can I ask Gigi one question?
Yes, sir.
Of course.
Gigi, when you left Singularity and SAP to get involved with Tinker working with kids, what were people saying about you? Were they saying that this was, wow, you're doing something amazing, or hey, why have you stepped off the corporate ladder, which is, the place to go? And what's all this stuff about working with little kids? Huh? What sort of things were said to you when you made that change?
I got both. I got both reactions. It was, I think, especially in Silicon Valley, it was definitely both camps. I had parents who told me, what are you doing? Why are you leaving your well-paying job in technology to teach kids? And then I have parents who are saying, we need more people like you, teaching all of these tech stuff to our children, right? And actually, I don't want to say I teach tech stuff. I really want to say that I'm really getting kids to enjoy learning. I mean, it's broad, but so it was really hard. It took me a while to really use the term mom on a mission, because it did not feel like it had any weight. And I actually went through a lot of, how do you say this? What do you call it? You know, an imposter syndrome, because I'm not an educator. I'm not certified in anything, right? But when I keep teaching these classes and I get parents, especially parents with children who are in the spectrum, the autism spectrum, and they say, you know, my child absolutely hates school. They feel like it's prison. But when they go to your class, it's like they just blossom. And then I get surprised responses when I tell them, your child is like the best problem solver. Like they are so detailed about what they want to do. And then they go, how come he can't do that with his homework? Well, because it's homework, right? So yeah, it's very interesting reactions.
Interestingly, I'm not an educator. And I think the problem with education is teachers and the certifications they need to go through, which drives normal people. Have you been to see High Tech High in Chula Vista? They're terribly similar. They've got a load of people there who have left straightforward jobs and are teaching kids. So there's a girl there who's helping kids use Scratch to create 3D models of buildings, and she's a certified building professional who left that role to do this. And they've got a whole army of people like that.
Yeah.
But without taking your thing, the most interesting kids I've ever worked with are kids in the north of England who are all looked after. That means they're all they've been put into the care system, so they're looked after by foster parents and stuff like that. And all of them have been thrown out of school. They're the most interesting, dynamic, fearless, go-getting kids, and schools can't cope with them because in our country, schools require compliance. And sorry, I'm taking up too much time.
Going back to your earlier question, Marcus, and that could actually be an open call, because what Dad did to the world is making conference going sexy again, right? There were conferences before Dad, but you didn't want to go there. And now everyone wants to go to a conference. So it seems to be sexy again to go to a conference. And I can remember Ken Robinson's talk when he shared this story about being invited over dinner, and the people next to him were worried because they sat next to the teacher. And being a teacher is not sexy. How can being a teacher become sexy again? Like going to a conference was not sexy 30 years ago, and now it's sexy again.
Yeah, I think the role is changing, right? You're not just there spewing, like holding a fire hose and trying to get the kids to take all the things that you're telling them. You're a facilitator of learning. And I think that the mindset has to change. Like, you're not the expert. You need to learn. And it's a communication. You take the temperature of the children, how they're responding to you, and you tailor from there, right? Adaptability. So again, we need to live what we're saying are important, and hopefully inspire our children to do the same.
Beautiful closing word, I guess.
Can I ask?
Sorry, of course.
Sorry, no.
I don't want to cut you all the time. It's like,
okay. I have a question to this game. So is it really a game, or you're just using slides and to bring the people in discussions?
The slides were put together to bring people into discussions.
So it's not a game, but where people can play with cards or something like this?
No, not at all. Oh, now you're going to think about making this into a game.
yeah, it's fine. So and this is okay for you to use it? Or is it allowed to use it?
So I've been given permission by the person who actually put this together. Yeah.
Okay.
So is that passed on to us?
Let me ask permission first.
It would be nice, yes.
Maybe we should just seek forgiveness rather than ask permission.
That's true. That's true. I like that.
So
okay, Martin, use it and then seek forgiveness.
Yeah, I have a last question. And how many pairs do you have? Did you show us all already, or is
I showed you all, but okay. You can tailor this to whatever.
Yeah, of course,
right?
Course.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. Not very much. Not very many.
Okay.
I'm shocked, Gigi. You should be able to count.
I can do it in binary. Just kidding. Yeah, teaching kids to count in binary is really fun too. Anyway.
Thank you. Sorry, Nikki.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What a great opener.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Me
Have a
too.
wonderful rest of day and week, and so lovely seeing you again.
Take care.
Bye.